As business owners, entrepreneurs, family men, it's difficult for us to find the time to put together projects like these. Even though it's something we really want to do, unfortunately, taking care of the things we have to take care of comes first. However, because of viewer support for people like you, we're able to continue doing this. Please consider joining our Patreon and supporting the Burn and Return podcast. You're listening to Burn and Return, a weekly 1-hour podcast covering news from the agricultural and turfgrass industries.
When the DJ scratch happens, you know what I know. That means that we are here. Welcome to another episode of Burn and Return. How the hell is everybody doing? My name is Matt. Sometimes I go by the Grass Factor. And beside me, I have Ray Ito and Ryan DeMay. Gentlemen, how in the hell are y'all doing?
Well, I'm inspired by our conversation in the pre-show, which you can only get if you get on to www.patreon.com/burn-turn, in which we talked about firing off not only AK-47s, but also yogurt cannons. Right, Ray?
That's right. Damn straight.
If we're going to call it an AK-47, we need to come up with a more precise name than a yogurt cannon, because that was not an AK, that was an SKS. So we need a meat vomiter or something. The yogurt cannon has to be.
I was talking about the yogurt cannon
more precise. The who?
For the other subject.
Oh,
the other yogurt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
the trouser gravy boat.
Yeah.
The literal man in me came on kind of strong there. Literal man. Anyway, yeah, let's go check out. Look, there's some spicy stuff in here. I'd say it's spicy. It's not. There is some spicy stuff in here, but I do want to get through this. So let's check out this week's headlines. I've got, guys, you'll never believe this. I have opinions on this week's articles. This is new. Breaking news, as a matter of fact. Breaking news. Matt has opinions on this week's news articles that we chose for our show. Shocker. So I wanted to talk about, this is kind of the weird thing that's going on in ag right now. And we'll kind of start with this. We are seeing prices trend lower right now. However, we did get a bump in urea prices. And the reason why is Egypt is struggling with urea because of natural gas. They're just like consistently running out of natural gas right now, and Egypt is a big producer of urea. And so if we take a look at the urea prices real quick coming out of Egypt, I'm going to open this in another window so I can take a look at it. We see that, starting August 28th, since then we've had roughly a 15% spike in prices here, right? So we were cruising in July and August, probably around 355 of contract prices. Then we had a dip down to like 335, and now we're back up to 351, simply due to a lack of availability of. I was like, Ray, are you all right over there? I realize now he's reading something. Due to the unavailability of natural gas. So that is going to put a kibosh as far as availability in the market. Now, the JPink, if you don't mind, let's go to Article 3 here. We'll take a look at retail prices in the U.S., and then we'll move on to Article 2 there. Retail prices in the U.S. are slightly and just like this lagging, somewhat of a decline. It's a little bit down. So we're seeing urea prices at $4.90 a ton. So, are we going to see another spike in that? Well, it depends, right? So this is the time of year that is notorious for India placing out of nowhere large flash sale tenders on U.S. urea. And if that does happen, then we're probably going to see a spike because the supply that we currently have is going to drop, right? And with them, capturing a big piece of it, demand is going to go up and supply is going to go down. So we'll see probably another spike in price there, which is this is not normally the time that you want to see that, but with increased pressure on Egypt. And one of the things that you cannot find article wise right now, which I was completely complaining about leading into the show, is that I couldn't find an article about, is that Europe is also facing the same thing where natural gas prices are falling quite sharply there. However, the ability to produce in Europe has also kind of fallen sharply, and that's for a multitude of reasons. And one of those, being like big wage increases that are occurring right now. So the struggle in Europe to continue to manufacture urea at a profitably is ongoing and consistent. So now let's take a look at ag commodities here. And so there is, if you look down here at, actually, JPIC, we're going to go down. I think that was corn. Keep going down. No, I'm sorry. Go up. We keep going up past this one. We'll go back to this chart. So soybeans here, and we're going to look at the last line on this. Okay, so we have the USDA supply demand, and then we have a stock to use ratio. So this is what the use is versus how much stock we have in inventory. So basically what this means is through this marketing year, we have approximately 1/3 of what is used in current inventory right now. This is the tie for the highest on record. The second highest on record was in 2018. And then before that, we've never even been remotely close to this. So now we're going into the new grain marketing year, right? So harvest is here, right? And so that officially triggers the new marketing year. And we already have 33% in inventory. This is bad. This is really, really bad. There is no other way to put this than our ag market right now is completely foobarred. It is in bad shape. Now, let's think about what has to happen in this scenario. Okay. The rate of inflation, so the rate that prices have been climbing has slowed. It doesn't mean just because inflation is back at 3% or 3.1%, it doesn't mean that we've gone from 21% inflation down to 3%. Like all of a sudden the prices went negative. It didn't. It's just the rate at which prices were increasing has slowed down. But it's still on an upward trend, right? We're just at a trend line of 3% versus 20%. Okay. And that's why, food prices up on average, anywhere from 20 to 30%, depending on what your source material is and what all the grains are involved in. And the reason why is a multitude of reasons. And so you would think that if, we have this much crop or grain in inventory with this way oversupply and the cost of soybeans and corn has fallen off a cliff, which it has. It's nearly impossible to be profitable with this harvest this year. That all of a sudden we would see like these huge softening in prices in grocery stores. And one of the reasons that we're not is that we still have fuel costs, which are still high. We have wages in processing facilities, which have also grown. And then, golly, what was the other one I saw? I can't find any of my notes. I digress. But as a result of all this, we're not seeing a softening of prices yet. Okay, so we have an ag industry that is upside down. We have a processing industry that is locked in just due to the amount of labor that it takes to actually produce these things, and then you've got transport costs that are on top of it. And although we are seeing a softening in transport costs, it's not where it was, right? So when gas still cost, $2.79 a gallon, that's still up quite a bit from $1.59 a gallon, or in this particular instance, it would be diesel fuel. Then if we look at mass transport, so for example, we're barging this up and down the Mississippi. The Mississippi River is also at a critically low level right now, which means that you can put less grain on a barge. So you're having to double the amount of barges or triple the amount of barges, quadruple the amount of barges that are having to move material. That's a lot more transport that's actually having to occur, because if you put more weight on the barge, it's going to sink lower into the water. It's going to displace more water, and we don't have the depth in the Mississippi right now to be able to support that level of displacement. And so it's a whole bunch of just bad, negative shit that's happening. Why am I bringing all that up? Is that, well, we have budget time in Congress right now. And I'm just curious. I want to know if Congress is going to offer some sort of bailout on this, because
I don't know if they can't pass a farm bill.
It's an election year. Ag is upside down. There's a lot of uncertainty in the supply going into next year for inputs, at least from a nitrogen standpoint. Potash looks pretty good. Phosphorus is a problem right now because everything is tariffed to holy hell. Nitrogen is tariffed to holy hell. And so and we starting September 27th, the new round of tariffs are on place. So the escalation in tariff prices. So we're not going to be able to bring in phosphorus from anywhere. Any nitrogen that we can bring in, that we can import from foreign countries at a discounted rate or at an on par rate to try and create some competition in the marketplace, is Russia. So really, what do? You've got an ag sector that's pretty much limited in profitability. Is Congress going to step in with a bailout plan with their it always turns into an omnibus that gets passed at the end of the year? Is it going to be another omnibus that will loop in some kind of farm bill on it to offer some sort of protection or bailout here? That's all I want to know.
Right now, it doesn't look like it. But the actual farm bill will be passed. Now, if there'll be relief in some form of continuing resolution, right, for the budget, I don't know. But I'd have to go back in history, and I don't know enough about history to parallel this and make a statement that, hey, this is as bad as it's ever been. But it's bad right now. Like, if you look at the culmination of forces of both supply, demand, weather, credit, just where we're at in political climate, like here would be my question for farmers and ag, right? It would be, what is known right now, right? Like, it's always a bet. Everything is a gamble, right? But typically you have something to fall back on. And right now, I don't know that there's a whole lot that these people, and even the corporations, right? I mean, that'll be the interesting part, because who within those corporations are leveraged so much at the highest levels of farming that they're going to be able to weather this? Or is this going to be another one of those where the little guys don't weather it, they get gobbled up by the big guys, and the cycle repeats, right? I don't know.
That right there is, honest to God, what I think is going to end up happening. So I think any kind of bailout is not going to show up in the form of make farming great again, and I don't mean that in a politically leaning kind of way. Look, the right and the left love spending money. They're both addicted to it, just at unprecedented levels, right? So I know that they're each going to offer, something of the sort, but it would be written up in a different way. What I think they would do in this particular scenario, instead of just, coming out and calling it, the farm relief bill or whatever. And I think there are some political connotations that the reason why you have to structure it that way is that, namely, right now, big ag equals bad, right? You got big ag, you got big pharma, you got, big corporations. All of those, we're in a very, very tense populist climate right now. So anything is scary. What?
Question though, Matt. Why is it that with the extensive regulations, at the end of the day, let's be realistic, the only people that can comply with all of that regulatory burden are the largest corporations. The small guys, they just get the finger. They just get the short end of the stick.
I'm not even saying that. What I'm saying is that, there is the way that people I'll give an example. The buzzword of regenerative farming right now, right? It's adopted by the far right and the far left is like what needs to happen in order to make people healthy again, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
the idea of bailing out conventional cropping systems is you are kicking the can down the road for the pesticide laden food poisoned pyramid that we live in, where everyone is being fed glyphosate, and your cereal's full of glyphosate, and you're all going to die, and we're all are getting pancreatic and colon and every other cancer in the world because of the way that our food is grown, right? And whatever, calorie density, or no, what is the one they say right now, nutrient density per bushel is dropped to whatever that you hear all these statistics that are thrown out, all
Oh
of your
yeah,
Mother
yeah. I
Jones
mean,
articles, right? And I'm going about it from
yeah,
that
all
that
that.
point, that if you bail that out, right, then
Mm-hmm.
you are killing regenerative agriculture by bailing that out. So I think what they would do is the incentive. And again, we'll look at how they handled the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank, right? It was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, we can't exactly do the Wall Street bailouts of 2008, so we're going to structure it in this real pretty way. I think it would be a similar thing. They'll call it an LPO, some sort of lending program, something, and it's going to be equitable access to credit for farmers, or something along the lines of that. But in reality, what it is, it's a bailout program, and it's buying more time with more access to credit, in order for farm to stabilize, in order for ag to stabilize. That's what I think is going to happen, and I'm totally throwing darts at a dartboard here.
Yeah, that would be my guess. But again, if history has you know repeated itself, what'll happen is, sorry, all the smaller guys, you guys get to go under the bus. I mean, that's reality. Because here's what I know about, Matt, about your so-called regenerative operations. Do you know that a lot of these regenerative operations have a tough time passing all the regulations and requirements set forth by the USDA regarding biosecurity and food safety? Do you know that they have a problem with that?
Not surprised.
So no, so this is like what I foresee happening is, again, only the biggest mega, 10,000 acre operations are going to get much out of this. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. And Matt, may I make a little side note in that I don't think it is the fact that we're growing all of these crops. You know what I think it is? It's the fact that people are even eating most of that stuff. Okay?
Hey, hot take by Ray there, but I see what you're saying, and but again, this is a big segment of the economy, and when people are talking about the economy, no one is talking about this right now, and it is a ticking time bomb. So I'm interested to see how this shakes out. All right, now we will check
Time's
out.
up. It's over.
It is, and we finish just in time with that segment. And I have no idea what do we do next. Are we going to do Joe Knows Turf next? Let's do Joe Knows
Yeah.
Turf.
Yeah.
Joe
Knows Turf.
Boy, howdy.
Hi, I'm
Joe.
I'm gonna give you a bunch of accurate turf facts today because
Joe.
knows
knows
turf.
Speaking of Joe, real quick, Joe did reach out to me unsolicited and showed me some pictures of his lawn and said it's been a tough summer, and it looked like it had. So Joe is still alive. Joe's lawn may not be alive, but it's not dead in the gutter like Jimmy Lewis's is, because Jimmy's
Well,
lawn's
if he would have been
fucking
a
dead.
better organic lawn warrior, he could have warriored it right through that tough summer. So Joe, clearly what we learned here is that you're not tough enough, and you're going to have to step up to the plate, cowboy.
Get fucked.
Organic harder.
All right. Let's see here. So, okay, let's go ahead and fire up that first clip. There's actually going to be several entries tonight, boys, because we've been away for a little bit, and we want to make sure that we're, I don't know, equal opportunity, I guess. So here, coming to us, Matt had a very good talk on this past Wednesday show about fungicide rotation, use, resistance, things like that. We had a good spirited conversation. Kevin from the FBI and Vladimir Putin sought to silence Ray, so they kicked him off the internet for a little while, put him in timeout, DDoSed his internet connection. But in the meantime, Matt and I had a good spirited discussion about that. On that topic, I was then flooded with a rash of shorts that came through, and we're going to watch a few of them here related to fungicide use and some things that maybe you shouldn't do. Go ahead and cue that first one up, JP.
So for the fungicide treatment, we're doing two things. We're spraying out azoxy, strobin, and propiconazole 14.3%. Now the reason we're spraying them together
Why am I already
is because they
cringing,
both
Matt?
have two modes of action. Which
Why am I
means
already cringing?
if I were
'Cause
to
it's
use
out of
one
a-
of these
Come on, gun.
repeatedly over a long period of time, the fungus, while it may stop in the
Wait,
beginning,
can you go back
will-
just 10 seconds and let me hear that again? I missed it just a little bit. Yeah, right there's good. You don't even have to go back a full 10.
if I were to use one of these repeatedly over
them repeatedly.
a long period of time, the fungus, while it may stop in the beginning, will develop resistance to that
Fungus
same
will develop resistance.
class product, if
That's
you will.
not right.
Whereas when we
That's-
mix two
that's wrong.
together,
Oh,
or we
shit.
rotate back and forth between two, we have the ability to, save.
Okay. So again, he is of the mindset, and I will cut him a little bit of a break. He should have watched the show on Wednesday, but he might have posted this before he heard the show on Wednesday. And again, fungicides are not mutagenic. They are not going to cause genetic mutations at the disease in order for it to become resistant to a particular class of fungicide, right? So rotating between the two is not going to manage that mutagenesis from taking place. Because if they were mutagenic and were causing, DNA changes in the disease that are creating resistance, then it didn't matter if you switch or not. You switch with one, you create some genetic mutations. You switch to the other, you create some genetic mutations. Now all you're doing is that you're buying time until the disease that actually already has that genetic mutation moves into your area. And if you combine modes of actions, the likelihood it's a law of probabilities. The probability of you experiencing a disease that has two genetic mutations that allow it to survive both modes of actions that you're applying is going to drop significantly. Just like if you add a third, now you have three mode of actions, and it drops even more significantly. So, Jake, what you said, I get, because I thought that for a long time, but I highly recommend you read at Agronomist on Twitter, who explained it to me, and he explained it to the world. It just sunk into my brain. Fungicides are not mutagenic. The mutation has occurred throughout the history of time. And it's just a matter of time until it reaches your area. And
Can I
so,
interject something?
yeah, go
Is
ahead.
that what we're actually looking at here is Darwin's law, natural selection. The organism or pathogen that has inherent resistance to the fungicide is always out there. It's always out there in the environment. But then by applying a fungicide, we are simply selecting to favor that organism that is inherently resistant. That's all we're doing. But if, say, we alternate between modes of action, or say we tank mix, then we are decreasing the odds that we're selecting for 2 at the same time. No more, no less. Because, by the way, if a chemical were inherently mutagenic, my God, that will be something that gets yanked off the market yesterday. Because who knows where, how, and who that substance is going to cause a mutation in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's when the frogs turn gay, and you know, I grow a unicorn horn out of my forehead, and shit gets real weird. Ladies,
And then
love
your
me, though.
lawn's just like an amphibian
Unicorn.
bathhouse. You know,
Yeah.
man.
And then imagine the genetic mutations that come out of an amphibian bathhouse.
Every time I
it's gonna
look
get
out the
real
lawn,
weird.
it's just
Stop licking the
Pumping in there.
toads.
Pumping in
Stop
there.
licking them. The poison frog. I'm sure this is going to be a real winner here. It's from Ron Henry, so I'm going to go ahead and hedge my bets that this is just a fat fucking L. Let's see what we got.
You spray fungicide for preventative rate or only spray when you start noticing fungus signs? Great question. So I spray fungicides at 2 times throughout the year, Arvin.
Mhm.
So in the springtime, late spring, early summer. So in the months of May and June, I spray fungicide preventatively. And then in the fall, in October and November, I spray fungicides. And you can see that documented here in the calendar. If you go to resources and lawn care schedule, and you go to the monthly application calendar, you'll see here that in May, I do my spring first fungicide app, and then in June, the second one. And then there's no fungicide at all until we get to October, where I do my first fall fungicide app, and then again, a second one in November. So I do a total of 4 throughout the year, but in 2 different times of the year, one in the spring, one in the fall. The one in the spring is to help prevent diseases like large patch, brown patch in my lawn, and the one in the fall is primarily to help prevent spring dead spot. So that's the sequence that I do them.
Okay. Can I?
Okay.
I'm gonna make a die on this hill comment right now. I'm probably gonna end up regretting this. Okay. If you have TIF 419 common, most Bermuda varieties that you are growing, we'll say south of Kentucky, south of southern Indiana, all the way to the Gulf, and we'll extend that over to California and south too. And you are applying preventative fungicides on your Bermuda, you, sir, are a fucking idiot.
You're the mark. You're the mark.
You are.
Matt,
Here's the
I
other
will
thing.
second
Even
that.
on the spring dead spot, is that if your Bermuda is 5 years old and you're applying preventative fungicides for spring dead spot, again, you're a fucking idiot. Just want to get that out of the way.
Okay. And, you know, I have almost never seen disease in 419 or common Bermuda, even when it's real cut and adequately fertilized, such that I'm thinking preventative fungicide applications, Matt.
Yeah, if it's
Did you know
TIF
that?
Eagle at 0.1, 0.15,
Mhm.
okay, but how many people in a home lawn scenario that are watching Ron Henry videos have TIF Eagle dwarf Bermuda grass at 100,000
Or
an
else-
inch?
Or else even something like TIF 328, that's also highly disease susceptible. But then there's a reason why very few people have those dwarf varieties of Bermuda grass as their home turf, right, Matt? There's a reason why very few home turf areas are established in that type. I mean, most people have common 419, Toma 31 maybe, TIF Tough, or TIF Grand, but then they're not messing around with green variety grasses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason for that, because I know that when I'm talking about green variety grasses, I got to start to cover for stuff like take all patch, dollar spot, leaf spot, but then I very rarely see those kind of issues in the taller lawn variety Bermudas. And watch me get struck by lightning for having said that, Matt.
Yeah, I know. It's the same thing. I make a very bold statement like that, and I'm just going to come back to haunt me. But by and large, should you be applying? Is there a necessity to applying preventative fungicides on residential lawns, Bermuda grass? If you're
No.
that far south with the typical types of lawn Bermuda varieties you're going to see, absolutely fucking not. It is ridiculous to insinuate that. It's ridiculous to program that and sell it as some sort of optimum approach to lawn management. It's just clown world. Wait, and what did he recommend? What did he recommend apply? Is he rotating what?
Pillar SC and headway. So he's rotating a group 3 and a group 11. So there is no rotation.
Okay.
We're just applying.
There's no
products.
rotation. Period.
Now, and here's
better.
the other thing, is that you guys duly noted that perhaps he's talking to somebody from warm season country, and that wasn't specified in the question. And we all know that Laron completely doesn't exist in nuance land like we do. And so he said apply in May and June, and then again in October and November. Now, could you imagine if somebody with a bluegrass lawn in, say, like Massachusetts, right, was like,
Time's up. It's over.
I got to get my fungicide down in October and November here. Like, this is bad. Don't do it.
Yikes.
What are we doing here, folks? What are we doing? Now, he qualifies and says large patch, and he says he said large patch with that application in the spring, right?
And brown patch.
We've been over this
brown
before.
patch. Yeah, I've gone over this rather extensively, and man, when we start talking about large patch and brown patch, even in the southern half of the United States, I have to be very specific about what types of grasses and under what conditions is that grass even being grown in. I have to be very nuanced. Otherwise, I'm going to be having people applying fungicides that they don't need to apply. And you know what else is kind of bad about fungicides that I know everybody tells me? They tell me, oh my God, Ray, what you told me to apply is expensive. You know how many times I get that? They say, Ray, I have to rob a bank in order to be able to afford to apply this. I said, are you kidding me? I said, yeah, I know. I buy this stuff too, so I know what it costs. Sorry. but that in that case, that is where I'm very hesitant to tell somebody to apply fungicide when they don't need it.
Well, and I think that's a good point, and that's a great lead-in to our. I think this will be our final video for tonight. Go ahead. Let me see if I've got that queued up for you, J Pink. Did I send it to you from our buddy over in
I
the
got
garage? Okay, let's go ahead. And I also want to talk about that picture too. After that too, go ahead. All right, this is from our friend Lawn Lover.
All right, guys, so 14 days ago, I overseeded, and as you can see, I was walking around. Now, this tends to happen. This is why I like to use fungicide when I overseed. Got a little outbreak of dollar spot. Now, that's kind of hard to see here, but we got a couple spots, probably 3 or 4 in this area. And then over here on the lawn, we got about 5 little spots. Now this stuff will spread fast if you have dollar spot. So what I did was I just mixed up some Claris. I will link it below on what I used. But as you can see, there's a good spot.
Methyl
spot is. And it will spread fast. So I caught it pretty early, probably within the first day or so. So this should take care of it. I spot sprayed these areas. I didn't blanket spray because I didn't want to use a lot. But be mindful when you're overseeding to look out for disease because it'll wreck everything you just did.
Okay. I'll give him props for spot spraying and not going blanket wall to wall across the lawn. I'll give him props for that. I don't know. One of the cardinal sins that we talk about is IDing your disease. You can go and throw it up, J Pink. We'll talk about that while it's up here. Is IDing your disease correctly. Okay. And I don't know if Justin, Lawn Lover, did that right there. And, a couple of things there would be to confirm what you have. It's not going to spread that fast. And I think the other thing, too, that we didn't talk about with either of these is that the immediate answer, Ray, is, hey, just go spray it with a fungicide. Just go use a fungicide, right? And God bless if you use a granular fungicide. Don't even get me started, Ray. But the point being is that with a lot of these issues, there are cultural means, right, to take care of this, right? So dollar spot, for example, we know that removing dew will greatly to the order of like 50%
Dew
reduction
removal.
in. Mhm. And what's the
Yeah,
other one, Ray?
other one that I'm fond of is nitrogen and iron. Nitrogen and iron. I
Correct.
mean, and in fact, Ryan, hasn't that
Yeah,
been
I don't think that's
documented
dollar
where
spot.
no, hasn't it been documented that on a cool season grass that's prone to dollar spot, if you maintain a certain level of nitrogen in the grass leaf tissue, you essentially eliminate susceptibility to that dollar spot.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's 4 or 4.5% dry weight. So basically, if you were to take a tissue sample, which we're not saying to do
Leaf
that, but
tissue.
it's a way to
I'm not saying to
correlate
do
and
it,
look
yeah.
at
Mm.
disease incidence here, that if your tissue level of nitrogen, which in textbook should be 6%, in real life you're going to be somewhere between 3 point something and maybe 5 if you're on the really high side.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in that, I want to say it's 4 or 4.5%.
Mm-hmm.
The reduction of disease incidence goes up significantly. Okay, so here's an instance here where IDing the disease is important. This is off of the one of the Discord servers that we're all on.
JPTM.
What's that?
JPTM.
Sometimes you got to translate for my Yankee ass. Remember,
Sorry,
I didn't
beat
grow up
them
in.
dumb going out, smoke the backyard straight to the damn dirt, boy.
I didn't grow up in the quarters. I grew up in the house. Okay, so
Dumb shit in the backyard, the box.
somebody says that, hey, is this, or how did this get termed? I got to go back and find it. Is this disease, or could this be disease?
Nope.
No.
Could this be fungus
No.
or something? And
No.
I'll give Evie credit. Evie, our good friend here, he says, nope, it looks dry as fuck. And he's correct. He says the tree sucks up.
Nailed it.
That's a good ID. That's a good ID. And dry as fuck is actually an abiotic problem. I just want to let everybody know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in the textbook.
Especially, yeah. So the tree sucks up water, and so you need more water to keep the grass green. Put some kind of mulching, blah, 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 blah. So he says the tree next to it isn't doing that to the grass. That's what this gentleman says.
Sure.
And Evie says back, and why is it only the grass under the tree that is affected? I don't know if this gentleman responded any further. Nope, he went away. So again, I think we're all the thing that's overwhelming about all these videos is that everybody's looking for, hey, what do I spray? What do I spray to get rid of this?
Yes.
And knowing that is important, but knowing what you're dealing with first before you go to reach for that and the things that you should have done before you get to that point. And this isn't me pearl clutching about using chemicals, everything like that. Everybody that's watched this show for 3+ years knows that we're not averse to spraying anything whenever we need to for whatever reason, right? But it's got to be a good goddamn reason to pick that up and do it. And you better use the right stuff at the right time at the right rate. Otherwise, there ain't shit that's going to happen. And you can't spray your way out of anything. I mean, if you're in the shit, everybody on this panel will tell you, if you're in the shit, if you're really, really in a susceptible environment with a susceptible host and the pathogen present, you're in the middle of the disease triangle and the gay frogs are looking at you right in the face.
Yep.
Ain't gonna
Yeah. Why do you think, Ryan, that my conversations with people regarding their patchy, sick lawn have been, okay, what trees do you want to cut down? First of all,
That's right.
what shade-producing structures are you willing to bulldoze out? Or 3, are you willing to replace this water-retentive, boggy soil? Are you willing to replace that? Because you see, I tell people realistically, if you are in fact in that situation where you're in the middle of the disease triangle and the gay frogs have circled you and are all looking at you like you're a piece of meat.
Wow.
I cannot help you. As good as I am, I cannot help you because, to me, fungicides are only an aid after proper cultural practices have been instituted. That's how I look at fungicide use, guys. Seriously.
But
But, you know,
remember,
he-
fungicides will not cure AIDS. Let's get that out of the way. Go ahead, DeMay.
No, they won't. I mean, so that's why you stay out of that bathhouse with all the frogs looking at you, Matt. You stay away from that.
or you're
Some of
like
the
you're like
chemistries.
Magic. You just stop going on road trips in the NBA. I mean, that worked.
Mhm.
So
Pay to play.
something like that. No, I was just gonna say that it's interesting that each one of these, you know, I don't think Jake's did. I should say I'll give him credit, but with Ron and with Lawn Lover, you know, they link something to use, right, to press that easy button. And to
Mhm.
Ray's point, you know, when he goes to that customer and says, "Hey, we need to cut the tree down," he doesn't say, "I'm going to sell you the axe," right? To do it, he says, "I've got this axe, and one of the things I use it for is cutting down trees." You know, and that's where, you know, you take it and you go forth. But if somebody's always trying to sell you the solution, I highly caution you to find out
Well,
the
Ri-
reason for your problem first.
Ryan, I ran into a situation earlier this week where I encountered somebody that is about to sell somebody a whole load of baloney because he proposes to cure their insect and disease prone lawn with, get this, Ryan and Matt, biochar. He proposes to cure
I want
their
Matt to call this
problems.
guy up on air, and let's see if he can sell Matt.
Mm. I would
Okay,
do that on there. By the way, while we're talking about this, if anyone is friends with Rick Wallace in the Professional Lawn Care Applicator group, I do want to have him on. Who is it? John P was sharing some stuff with me where I think legitimately, I think he's got some interesting information that he is open to sharing about structuring selling your business. And so anyway, if anyone is friends with Rick Wallace, I don't really know him. And of course we can talk about fertilizer too. I know he's into talking about the cheapest ways to mitigate overhead costs. I just want to get that out there, get it out of the way. If anyone's friends with Rick Wallace, have him email us, mail@thegrassfactor.tv. I want to get him on and have a talk with them where we don't interview one where we don't have to have a Ron Henry talk, because Rick Wallace is a business owner and he loves to save money, not spend it frivolously, just spraying something to spray that it hopes a problem goes away. Let's check out this week's burns. Sheila's been with the
Listen,
frogs.
if the verb today is completion, Sheila, I'm taking the over.
Solar
that.
fields are
Good show.
contributing to deforestation. Why am I in this window? I'm in such a terrible window that it makes it really difficult to keep up with what I'm doing. And now I can't even get out of it. I'm just screwed. Here we go. There we go. I don't even know if I'm on the right article. Screw it. We'll start here. Solar fields are contributing to deforestation in Rhode Island. Advocates want to change how the state incentivizes development. Walking along a snowy trail, Kate McPherson points out evidence of life in the frozen forest. She stops to examine a spot where the snow has been disturbed by deer digging up grass and acorns. She traces the path of a mink where it is bounded along a stream bed, swam through a culvert, and wriggled out onto the bank. You can see these little specks on the ground, she said, pointing out to scattered brown dots on the snow. That's from the birds, probably things like chickadees and titmice coming through and foraging, either eating the buds off trees, eating the seeds out of the cones, or just looking for tasty tidbits down there. She's a wetland scientist and a wildlife biologist with Save the Bay. Hearing an American goldfinch, she stops to listen. One thing you notice is that we can't hear the highway anymore. We're maybe a mile into the woods, and this is pretty rare for Rhode Island. We have a lot of roads, so anytime you're in a spot where you can just hear quiet, you really can't put a value on that. But I think it's really important. Anyway, what is happening here is when I was in high school, I definitely remember a lot of blank cul-de-sacs, new roads going in off the roads that my friends lived on. But the biggest threat in the past 5 years has been solar developments. There are at least 4 or 5 solar installations in North Smithfield that were previously forested pieces of land. The largest on nearby Whortleberry Hill involved cutting down 120 acres of forest where McPherson remembers playing paintball as a kid. The Whortleby Hill property is unique because there are no roads that go nearby, making it a secluded piece of habitat for wildlife, she said. A large portion of it is mapped as a rare species habitat, which is sort of like a double gut punch. In the last 4 years, more than 1,000 acres of Rhode Island forest have been cleared for solar, according to the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management. That accounts for more than 2/3 of forested land that was cleared for development. We can see here acres of Rhode Island forest cleared for development from 2018 to 2021. And it's not even close by almost a factor of 10 that solar is leading the way. John Rogan, not Joe Rogan, a professor at Clark University of Worcester, has used satellite imagery to map solar development and study where it's being built. In Rhode Island and Massachusetts, he found that half the ground-mounted solar was replacing forests. For a relatively large amount of forest loss to occur in an industry that is essentially termed and represented as green energy and renewable energy, it really was surprising to me. Conservation groups say replacing the forest with solar is short-sighted and counterproductive. They're pushing the state to change its renewable energy incentive programs to minimize solar development on forested land. So anyway, here we have a perfect example where, Rhode Island has this 100% renewable energy target by 2023, and they expect the overwhelming majority of it to come from solar, a lesser amount to come from onshore wind, and an even lesser amount to come from offshore land. And so what ends up happening where you need these land acres in order for solar energy production to take place, well, forests get cleared. And it's one of those that you're shooting yourself in the foot in an effort to try and do a good thing. So, I hate to say this, but who didn't see this coming? I mean, really. One of the things that we also talked about is that, with ag going upside down right now, one of the easy things that might come out of this is that people that are upside down with their borrowing on their farms may see an easy outlet to sell their farms to solar companies in order to install solar establishments. And now those would be less land acres in crop production in the name of renewable energy. And I want to make it very clear. I am not an anti-renewable energy guy at all. In fact, I've been in the space quasi different segments of it for almost 10 years now. And but I will say is that a lot of the solutions in renewable energy are at the behest of actual solving the issues in the climate that it's purporting to solve. So if you think you're solving a problem, but you're creating another downstream effect that is at equal or worse value, are you really doing anything at all except kicking the can down the road? Or you're moving your chess piece from one place on the chessboard to another piece to another place on the chessboard? And is that really solving anything at all? Again, I think there's a lot to be admired here, but when you're deforesting in the name of renewable energies, what happens? Forests are some of the most efficient carbon sinks that we have. Incredibly efficient carbon sinks. What is more efficient than carbon sinks would be grasses. Shocker. And what we're foregoing here is land that could exist as a carbon sink and converting it into something that is no longer growing anything, that is no longer acting as a carbon sink. It's just acting as a light sink. And so while we may have had plants that are actively reducing CO2 and replacing it with O2, instead, we're just steadily increasing the consumers. We are steadily decreasing the consumers of CO2 in the name of well, energy. Good job, guys.
No,
That's are y'all shocked about this, or is
No,
it's a
I'm
big
I'm
issue here. And go ahead, Ray.
I am unsurprised. Okay? I'm totally unsurprised because I see this in my state as well, and I only hope I'm not around when this environmental program comes to full fruition, because I don't see it working. I honestly don't.
There's bits and pieces of it are good, but like we see in a lot of states, what's happening in Ohio, DeMay?
Oh, I mean, they're taking up, hundreds of acres, thousands of acres of farmland and converting them over into uh, solar farms, and it's a massive deal. I mean, so it's divided the agriculture and farming community here in Ohio, and it's gone county by county. The counties are now able to ban um, on their own unilaterally. They don't need state approval, so the state uh, enacted that. So there are counties that are very for it and have pushed it a lot, and then it's created this whole situation where, okay, if we're going to take a situation where a landowner does have landowners' rights, right? They're allowed to do what they want to do with it. And I don't know what the situation is there in Rhode Island as far as, who's selling, who's buying, and who owns the land and things like that. But just like any other resource, if it was minerals or something like that, if they were drilling for oil or something, they're effectively leasing the land, the solar companies here. And so farmers are making out. I mean, they're getting generational money to do this and over a long period of time. So they're taking care of themselves. However, they're kind of selling out their community and allowing more of this stuff in. And all this stuff's got to come in and be maintained and constructed through, the same network of roads and communities and everything else that people use. So I don't know. I mean, there's definitely and we're in the areas that we work in, we see a lot of this stuff going in, or see a lot of it after it's been built, just as we're passing through, that we have no involvement in any of it. But I guess the whole point there is that you see what it does, and then at the end of it, every time I drive past one of these, I'm always like, is this really worth it? Like, are we
No, it's
really
not worth it.
turning the screws of
You know what's going to happen? Here's what's going to happen, guys. Guess what happens when there is no sun? No electricity. Everybody's screwed, okay? And
Let's hope
this
there's no volcanoes
is,
that erupt.
yeah. So this is why
earthquakes?
I am categorically opposed to usage of solar as an alternative to current methods of power generation. I am categorically opposed. No.
You heard it here.
Lake George leaders look to move past herbicide fight. Boys, milfoil is not going anywhere fast. Thank God. Asian milfoil at that. Hi, honey, if you're listening, I love you. Lake George Park Commission, Lake George Association promised a restoration of collaboration in combating. A promise of restoration of collaboration. Jeez. Association promise of restoration. Commission, association, restoration, collaboration, combating invasive species. This is just word masturbation at this point. The leaders of the oceans in a joint interview Tuesday promised to work together in battling invasive species on the lake, seeking to turn the page on a contentious fight over using an herbicide in the lake. The reconciliation comes after more than 2 years of fighting over whether to use Priscillacor in Lake George to kill invasive Eurasian water milfoil. It also marks the restoration of longstanding collaboration between the state agency charged with managing the lake and the LGA, a well-heeled organization devoted to its protection. You can mentally take the last 2.5 years and forget about them. I'm sure that's easy to do. It planned to drop its current lawsuit against the Lake George Commission, Adirondack Park Agency, and Department of Environmental Conservation. That suit sought to stop the state from using an herbicide and appeared to be the first suit in the Adirondack Park to make the claim under a new state constitutional right to clean water and a healthful environment. After the judge rejected the request, the contractor on 29th released the herbicide into 2 bays, the first chemical control of an invasive species in Lake George. They released initial results from its own monitoring of the herbicide's effectiveness and impacts, which included more robust analysis than carried out by the Lake Commission. That monitoring was carried out by the Jefferson Project, a water quality research program within the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Those results confirm the commission's finding that the herbicide could not be detected in the water column within 24 hours of its use, but it could be detected in small quantities in lakebed sediments. The chemical byproducts that the herbicide degraded into were also detected. The LGA shared its result with the Lake Commission and plans to do so. To do the same with the continued data collection. It's all about looking forward to working together around this with new science and new data. It shows here the results in a presentation that you can take a look at. Most of the milfoil in the 2 treatment zones have been killed when divers returned for a plant survey 30 days after the herbicide treatment, but a dense milfoil bed on the northwestern edge of the treatment zone in Blair's Bay continue to persist. Water circulation models from the Jefferson Project suggested that the herbicide moved away from that area as it diluted into the lake. Models that could inform future herbicide uses. The application worked pretty much as planned. The LGA science is going a little deeper than ours. That's why we have joined back together to share what it did, what was it supposed to, and how those answers lined up. So now they're going to figure out what to do in the future as far as regrowth and the lasting results from that herbicide application. So there it is. It's still ongoing. Shocker. But hey, look, they're just going to move past it, and they're not going to try and kill each other, which is a huge step in the right direction here in 2024, which seems to be where everyone ends up. As I just literally read something absolutely insane that never mind. I'm not going to read that. We'll just move on. Tariffs. 2,4-D tariffs would hurt farmers. Saying growers need reliable access to essential farming tools, the National Corn Growers Association President Harold Wool warned the U.S. International Trade Commission of the consequences of America's farmers if the agency grants a petition to levy tariffs on imported 2,4-D and often used herbicide that has been on the market for decades. The scenario under consideration has potential to limit imports of an important product, raise its price to create a supply shortage, while raising costs of production in an already tight market. Farmers are price takers, not makers, in selling our commodities, and closely managing our production costs is crucial to our success. Thus, tariffs on these products would create an even more difficult economic scenario for me, my family, and the farmers I represent. This comes after Corteva filed anti-dumping and countervailing duty petitions with the ITC on March 14th over India and China's trade practices involving the herbicide. Herbicide is one of the most significant inputs for raising crops. 2,4-D-based herbicides are widely used in corn and soybeans. So this is going to be. We have a fairly robust history here that shows what happens with tariffs. Right. This goes all the way back to Trump and the trade war with China. That's kind of what kicked off this whole inverted supply-demand issue that we have in ag right now. The Biden administration said anything that you can do, I can do better, and not only maintained those tariffs, but also has an increasing round of tariffs that are coming out in just a few more days here. They're going. And so what typically used to be like a partisan thing would be like either tariffs or no tariffs. Now it's unilaterally agreed upon that tariffs are good for whatever godforsaken fucking reason. And I get the idea is that if you tariff something, you're going to force production to a U.S. supplier. And while that sounds good and dandy, what you do is you restrict the availability of the material and you restrict competition. And so therefore, a free and fair and open market now becomes less open, less fair, and less free because the government is in effect picking winners. And so you're limited who you can buy from. And then all of a sudden it's easier to control the commodity price. And if anyone is unaware, the difficulty of manufacturing pesticides in the United States is purely a factor of the amount of red tape that is ongoing here, right? It is massively, massively difficult. Here's the other thing. How much 2,4-D is actually manufactured in the U.S.? Almost none. What happens is that it's manufactured overseas. We import it, and then we bottle it. We package it and bottle it here. So those tariffs, yeah, Corteva may be fighting for it, but in reality, it's because Corteva feels like they can package it cheaper even with the passages of tariffs, right? So where other companies may have it packaged overseas and just imported as a final product. If there's a tariff in place, Corteva thinks they'll have the competitive advantage because they can package it cheaper here. And so it's just a way that tariffs are a way that ends up fucking people significantly up, down, left, and right. And so I think it's absolutely fucking retarded. It's stupid, and it pisses me off every time I hear the word tariff come up from either party, and they're all on board with it. They think it's a great idea, and history has repeatedly showed us how much of a stupid fucking idea it is. But here we are. It's 2024, and stupid fucking ideas run the show.
Well, Matt, my question
But hey,
is
we're
okay.
going. Hey, look, we're going to put the hurt on the Chinese electric vehicles because they're trying to take over the market. No, they're not. No, they're not. If
Yeah,
you're
well, here's the thing,
afraid
man.
of them, it's because you're fucked in your head. You're a fucking idiot. That's what the problem is.
Okay, and my question is, fine and dandy, you tariff 2,4-D coming from foreign countries, but my question is, Matt, how much 2,4-dichlorophenolic acid raw material is actually manufactured within the United States? My guess is almost none, because you see,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, none.
up until I want to say the 2000s, there were several manufacturers that actually manufactured the raw material
DC, Chuck.
within
Over
the
the top.
United States. Yeah. Yeah, there were several manufacturers, and now I'm aware of the fact that all of these manufacturers, they are simply formulating and then packaging from raw material that's imported from within the United States. And in fact, here's a fun fact. You know our Discord member, Aaron Gillespie? He told me that his plant used to be involved in the manufacture of 2,4-D. And 2,4,5-T, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Back in the day.
yeah,
Back in
yeah.
the day.
That was a real good time. Vietnam. What a time to be alive
Mm.
that was. Turned out great, by the way. Yeah, this is just again, we are in a competition right now between the left and right to see who can take a bad idea and make it so abysmally worse, and then just sell the American public that yep, see, I told you they were stupid, which is it's just fucking phenomenal that we're in this space right now. If you watch the debates, they were talking about tariffs. The next day, it's all in the news about how stupid the tariffs were. Whatever, not even knowing that the current administration is about to ramp up tariffs to holy hell on any and everything that they can get their hands on, which is just
No,
absolutely
and not only that,
insane. Absolutely
the
insane.
current administration has done zero to reduce the impediments to American manufacturing. Zero, Matt.
Yeah, they're tariffing lithium that comes out of China. They're tariffing EV batteries that come out of China. And again,
But
they are roadblocking the lithium mine in Nevada right now that has an absolute
Mhm.
supply that could revolutionize battery power in the United States. But it's been ongoing in litigation forever, and they keep saying, "Oh, it's coming now. Oh, it's coming now. Oh, we got more billions pouring into it. It's coming now," and it hasn't. And it's not. It's going to continue to be a
it's
political
not going to,
pawn
because
in
you
this
see,
in this game of idiocy that we continue playing
see,
because no one gives a fuck about anybody except the government is in this never-ending quest for more and more and more fucking power with the promise that they'll take care of us if we just give them the fucking power. And it's both sides, and they're fucking horrific people, and it's just becoming more and more disgusting. And we as a society, we're becoming more and more polarized as a result of it, which is even more absurd. Is that anybody can look at this and be like, yeah, these people genuinely care about me. If you think the government genuinely cares about me, you need to start smoking crack or something, because whatever it is you're doing right now is not working. Go eat a bundle of acid, eat every mushroom that you can find poisonous, or don't do that. Don't eat poisonous mushrooms. Eat like the mind-freeing mushrooms. Smoke all the DMT. Eat all the cacti that will make you need mescaline intravenous pumped into you at grams per hour, and just fly off into outer space and see that these people hate your fucking guts. They do not care about you, and do with that information what you will. How about that? A Roundup lawsuit poses a threat to a Missouri farm. Shocker. Bayer's already pulled the herbicide from the consumer market based on false cancer claims. So here we go. Consumer market. We have a small Missouri farm here. We're talking non-commercial, small acres that are under treatment, and so they're struggling to get it. And what ends up happening is that, again, this is one of these small side projects that someone has so they can live a nice middle class life. And again, the government here is to protect the middle class. We live and die by our middle class. We love our middle class. No, you fucking don't. You hate the fucking middle class. You hate fucking everybody. You just want more power. You're most disgusting human beings that exist. And I could honestly give a fuck about any of you. Let's check out this week's returns. I had uplifting news. How about that? La, 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 la. Fucking hate the government. I fucking hate the government. And I'm glad I live in the United States because I can say that here without getting executed. And God bless the USA. I do love my fucking country, but I hate the fucking government so fucking much. That's why I can't say that on air. Actually, it's one of the strange things I can't say on air, but I get it. The political climate is tough right now. But there's a reason why I have a concealed carry license and I carry the round that I carry, because it scares the government. Anyway, I digress. New turf for the dogs at the Payne Training Facility. By the way, I don't know if anybody knows this, but the University of Tennessee Volunteers are on fire. We're playing Oklahoma next week, and I have no idea what that has to do with this article. I just wanted to put that out there. Go Vols. New turf for the dogs. UGA grass has always been a big deal. Seriously, you can quite literally major in it. The turf indoors is just as important where the dogs practice. University of Georgia recently unveiled a new turf system at Payne Indoor Athletic Facility, manufactured and installed by Hellas. Matrix Helix monofilament turf systems are designed to withstand all the football training the dogs do. Georgia's elite college football program, so it requires elite turf. So they have invested in their team's success with Hellas installing the Matrix Helix turf system at Payne Indoor Athletic Facility. And anyway, they have a 120-yard synthetic turf field that consists of curled monofilament fibers that securely hold the infill in place, mitigating any concerns of migration and splash out. Additionally, Hellas crews have incorporated the Cush drain shock pad in the installation. By the way, these new shock pads are badass. If you've ever walked on them, there's definitely a sponginess to it. And again, this is, for CTE fears and head injuries, concussions, with landing on your head on turf. They're readily making great gains in this. And what you see here is an indoor facility that opens up the number of months that are normally difficult to train outdoors, that are more injury prone. Like when it's 37 degrees outside, you're probably a bit more injury prone. And now it opens it up because you can move it indoors. And now you've got a playing surface that is less conducive to cause injury like we've seen in the past, especially in a practice-like scenario where you're not going at 110 miles an hour trying to kill the other person. So anyway, this is pretty badass. And I read a little bit about that system, and it does seem to be the top dog, but that's just based on what I read. DeMay, you know way more about this than I do. What is your opinion of this system that they installed?
Fine system. It's up there as far as from a safety perspective. Definitely, I don't know that anybody can claim that they're at the top, because there's always things that you're giving up. So it depends on the use case. In this case, for football and indoor training, it's a fine surface. It'll do them well. And real quick though, I did want to ask, White Man, what do you think about the dogs? J Pink.
I don't really know what's going on, so why don't you tell me?
This is the dogs! It's the Sanford, baby! This is how we do it for the dogs! Go, Georgia! Woo!
Okay.
Wait, can I?
That's good. So
I don't
he's
want to
pretty
give
excited
up
about
too
it.
much information here. So if anyone in 2005, 2006 at UGA had the doors removed from their vehicle in Athens, contact me. This would have been the Vols versus UGA 2005, 2006 season. Shoot us
Can you
an email,
identify
mail
the
at
type of vehicle?
grassfactor.tv. I've got some leads on that. I may or may not have been involved. Go ahead. What were you going to say about White Man there?
No, just he was how excited he is about it. I mean, he's all about the dogs.
He is all about the dogs. Look, God love the SEC, but Georgia fans are great. Yeah, I'm gonna get that out there. Georgia fans are great. Ole Miss fans are great. The whole country can unite around that. We all hate Alabama. No one likes Alabama. So I'll give
Sean
screaming
Smith.
white man there.
He can get down with
He's an
Alabama.
Ole Miss guy.
I know. Yeah. He's got Roll Tide on his ass. He didn't tell anybody. You got to get intimate to know that
Did you hear
side
that,
of Sean
Sean?
Smith.
That's it gets weird over there. Peter Landshut. Retires after serving extension turf specialist for 35 years. My goodness. He was honored by the Keystone Athletic Field Managers Association, which presented him the Fowler Founders Award named in memory after Donald Fowler, a Penn State extension educator, recognizes individuals with a dedication to making a difference in the sports turf industry in Pennsylvania. He was a specialist for the Penn State Extension for 35 years, and he has been all around the College of Agricultural Sciences there. Honored again and has a very distinguished career. Peter's been a selfless, hardworking, and thoughtful faculty member who makes an impact with everything he does. Peter had responsibilities in teaching, research, and working with the turf industry. He's done an excellent job with his diverse set of duties. The department is grateful for his hard work and dedication. We will miss his leadership and consistent focus on helping students and stakeholders. Man, 35 years. Good for you, dude. Good for you. DeMay, how you know more about this than any of us. Did you have a relationship with him? Did you lean on any of the research that he did or any of his publications to guide you?
Oh yeah, a lot of the research for sure. And I think I've met him one time, maybe that's about it. But no, a fantastic resource for an advocate for the industry. You hate to see people like this go by the wayside. A lot of these programs now, Penn State won't be one of them, but a lot of these folks, when they do retire, are not being replaced. So if you do at any point reach out to your extension folks, make sure that you follow up with them, keep a relationship with them, and then find out who they report to, because they've got so over many. They have metrics just like salespeople do. The amount of visits they need to go on, the amount of calls they need to take, things like that. They log all those activities because it's important to prove that they're needed, right? And I think one thing that we see dying right now is extension and turfgrass, right? To be able to support and help people out there in the industry, state to state, right, with the land grant university. So sad to see him go, but blessings in retirement, and you've earned it, dude. So go get it.
Hell yeah. A 16-year-old saves enough to buy a new Jeep after 4 summers of mowing lawns. A Massachusetts teen, of all people. Golly, I got a gay frog in my throat here that is going ham. He started when he was only 12 years old. However, Cordova family says her 16-year-old son Dylan is cruising towards a successful future with his new Jeep Wrangler. You're sitting at home playing Fortnite, and I wanted to save up because I wanted a Jeep. I see everyone driving a Jeep, having fun. I really wanted Jeep ducks on my dashboard. And so anyway, I started doing this. I made up the part about Jeep ducks. That's an inside baseball with me and Derek on my lawn. My dad came from Guatemala, so he started working really young too. So I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps. Oh, another immigrant chasing the American dream. I wonder if we can freak out over him eating cats and dogs. Wait, no, it was the Haitian. Sorry. I always tell them, work hard, work for your goals, because nothing comes easy. Wow, man, that's funny. I thought if things didn't come easy and hard, we fought for it, and then we petitioned to join a union, and we go to the government and we say they're not doing enough to help us, and that we need better social blankets and safety nets in order to catch us. Or you do like this hardworking son of an immigrant here, and you do what you have to do to generate enough money to buy the fucking Jeep of your dreams. What a fucking stud this guy is, because a 16-year-old arrived at a dealership with $65,000 in fucking cash. Loss of words. I mean, I opened up the sunroof, all the windows down, blasting music. It was definitely a dream come true for me. Good for fucking you. Good for fucking you. We need more of this in this fucking country, and more of the fucking assholes that are running it that are pieces of fucking shit. They keep telling us that we can't succeed in life because other people are fucking holding us down. And I'm so fucking tired of hearing it because this is a perfect example of a fucking 16-year-old working his fucking dick into the dirt to go buy a brand new Jeep for $65,000 in fucking cash. Good for you, buddy. Good for you.
Yeah, Matt, here's the other thing. Here's what's really sickening to me is all of these people that think they need some kind of a government program to get anything in life. They always need the government involved. Did this kid go to the government and petition the government for all kinds of assistance and all kinds of bullshit? I don't think so. He worked for it on his own. And you know what's good about that? You know what's good about working for things on your own, Matt? Nobody owns you. Okay?
It's a good point.
Nobody owns you.
It's a good point.
No, because
unless you fail to pay your taxes to maintain your tags on your car, then they'll come and they'll take your driver's license away, and then you're back at square one. So
however,
we never truly own anything.
However, Matt,
knock knock.
What I mean
the
by
IRS is here.
What I mean by that is, you know what happens to the people that
get on the ground,
depend on the damn government? The government then has the power over that person. Because right now, I can tell the government to go get fucked.
Time's up.
For all
It's
intents and
over.
purposes.
All right, we've got one mailbag to cover here.
You've got mail.
We do. Hey, Steve, whoever invented AOL, I can't remember his name. Hi, Ryan. I'm an avid follower of your older podcast of Ryan Norton, your current ones with TGF. I'm hoping you could help guide me a bit on my lawn renovation I started this fall. I'm in Metro Detroit, so we're dealing with cool season grass. I kill off my entire backyard because of a creeping bentgrass infestation. I use that opportunity to level the backyard with a 50-50 mix of mason sand and topsoil. Lastly, where I'm most concerned is I seeded KBG and RPR. Oof. Then covered with peat moss. Just did this yesterday. I'm hyper aware of keeping the seed moist. However, I'm hyper concerned about the grass growing in sand. Can you offer any additional tips to increase my chances of success? For example, when to add fertilizer, was going to wait 1 week, maybe covering with mushroom compost or another top dressing. Thanks in advance, Curtis.
Oh my God. Oh
what
my
would you
God,
do?
Matt.
What would you do here, DeMay?
Oh boy. So using that mix is fine. It is what it is at this point. Lastly, where I'm most concerned is I see the air covered with peat moss. Yeah, I mean, I would just water it at this point. Get the seed to come up. Your RPR is gonna come up. Don't get fooled by the RPR coming up first and then pulling back the water too much. I would love to know what kind of Kentucky bluegrass you seeded. Don't believe the hype. It should come up faster than 21 days, unless it's some real dog shit cultivar. But you should be fine. I think as far as adding fertilizer, I think you're probably talking like 3 weeks minimum. I wouldn't worry about a week because there's not going to be anything there to take up said fertilizer. So wait until you get the grass up, maybe get a mow on it, maybe 2, and then go for it after that. But your watering is the most important thing. And looking at Metro Detroit right now, it's dry there. So you're probably talking at least 3 times a day, maybe even 4, and then making sure that you're what I would call baseline moisture at night. If you need to add a little bit more back into it, go for it. But air is dry enough right now. You're not really too worried about pythium, things like that. So I think you just need to make sure that you're dialed in on water. That's the most important thing.
Would you cover it with mushroom compost?
I don't know that that's gonna move the needle.
No. No.
I think I'd just go ahead and let it ride at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No more compost, no more organic matter. I mean, this is somebody where I think he got a little confused in that, is he making a flower bed or is he making a turf area? Which one is it? Okay? Because when I hear compost, my God, that sends me into orbit. All right? That sends me
Well, he
into
hasn't
fucking
done
orbit.
compost yet. He's done soil and mason sand, and he was just curious if he should. And so he has not put any compost out yet.
Well, I would suggest not. Okay?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not, water up your seed, get your seed to come up, start mowing it, maybe give it a final feeding, and then see what you get next spring and begin your actual lawn care program next spring. That's my advice to
There we
you.
go. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to go hang out with our patrons now and let them choose the title of this week's episode. We will see everyone on Wednesday. And until then, be safe, be queer, be friendly, and don't forget, if there's anything that you should let be burned into your brain every moment throughout the course of the next, I don't know, few days here, is fuck the government. All right, we'll see y'all later. Bye.